Hi, welcome to the Closet Philosophy Podcast. This is Janine. I'm a personal stylist.
And this is Kristen. I'm a fashion writer, and we're here to uncover the ways that your personal style is so much more than just clothes.
Whether you realize it or not, what you wear touches on science, psychology, culture, politics, and so much more. Sophia Hall is a secondhand clothing seller who has found more success selling on Instagram than she did with the brick and mortar store she had in San Diego for 7 years. It turns out that being a woman who lives in a bigger body is her secret weapon, rather than the quote unquote hindrance that the mainstream fashion industry might have you to believe. We're so excited to share her story with you and to learn more about her path to success selling secondhand clothing for women of all sizes on Instagram. So welcome, Sophia.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share with you too what I've found out, what I've learned, and what is going on right now.
Yeah, we're so excited. So thank you for joining us. And so we chatted before for Forbes article that I wrote, and one of the things I found really intriguing was that you said that you were the youngest of 7 siblings growing up. Oh, 8. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yes,
you would know better than me. Sorry.
no
You had
worries.
7 siblings, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You're right. You're right.
So okay, got it. Got it. But so that meant that you wore a lot of handed down clothing. Or no, not handed down.
But
Okay, so
yeah,
correct me. So what so I know that you were a lot of thrifted. So tell us about like how that came to be that you did mostly thrifting when you were younger.
actually, you got most of it right. But I guess I left out an important thing. There was a
Didn't
gap.
seem like it.
Yeah, there was seven before me, and then my mom was she was 40 and she decided I am going to have a career now. So she became a nurse at 40 and she got
Wow.
pregnant with me while she was in nursing school. So she told my dad, okay, your turn. You raise the kid now. So I was raised by my father basically. And those seven kids were that my siblings, they were so much older than me. The next one is 10 years older. I've got one that's 20 years older. So I couldn't wear their hand-me-downs because they were just so much older than I was. And then I was talking with Janine about this. We couldn't afford new clothing items. So what ended up happening is my mom was working and my dad had a job where he was free during the week and he loved thrift stores because he read a lot. So he would go buy used books. So he would take me along and he would give me a couple dollars. And that's how I had to buy all of my clothing as a child. Nobody took me shopping. He would just say, go find some clothes. And so I would take a couple dollars and in a thrift store, I have to find clothes to wear for school, basically. And so that's what I learned early on. Now, fast forward to now, I just choose to thrift. There's many reasons why, but it all started when I was a small child. My first memory is actually in a thrift store.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that I mean that is such a cool story is that you've been thrifting, your entire life, which is,
Exactly.
really actually very unusual. Even, for me, an avid thrifter, I've been thrifting since I was in high school. Yeah, I would really be curious to know like how your experience thrifting from such an early age has impacted your style as an adult.
That is a fabulous question. So here's the deal. Growing up, our family moved a lot. So I was put in many different environments. And my family is Mexican, and I was the youngest. And so my mom had a job, so she had some money now, a little bit. She spent all that money by putting me in private religious schools. Some of them had uniforms, and some of them didn't. So the ones that didn't, and I was able to try to assimilate or fit in or stand out, I learned very early on that what I chose to purchase at a thrift store and how I styled it affected how I was perceived or bullied or not bullied or allowed in certain groups. And so I learned early on I want to be with these people, or I want to try to stand out in this area, or I want these teachers to pay attention to me so that I could get a better education. That I learned early on. So fast forward to what I do now, I have clients that will come to me and they'll say, I just got this job. I've never had this kind of job. I don't know how to dress for this kind of job. I want to be respected in this job. And then, all my clients, I was going to say all are women. I do have some male clients. But so when I'm thrifting for other people, I think that childhood that I had where I had to learn how to dress myself for different social settings, it's that has paid off, I think. So everyone can thrift. Not everyone can style, but especially I think not everybody knows how to harness the power that clothing has to have you feel good about yourself. So someone getting a new job, how they dress is going to affect how they do their job or how they navigate that world, a corporate environment, let's say, if someone's never been in one. And I've been in those environments. I've had those jobs. I worked in the corporate world for a while. So anyway, yeah, I think it does give me a little bit of an advantage in that I've been in many different environments growing up, and then that plays into what I do now.
Yeah, that's so interesting because and I have to say that I relate a lot. My parents, my dad was in the Navy, and I went to also I think I counted like 13 different schools by the time I graduated from high school.
Wait,
Oh,
what? We're in the
yeah.
13 club. I went to 13 schools too. My
Yeah,
goodness.
it's so crazy. Yeah, I think in
Oh
the
my
fourth grade I
God.
went to three different schools, and so it we moved around a lot. And I think that part of that you develop a skill of like sussing out social dynamics very
Hmm.
quickly because like if you live in a group for a long time, you're just used to how everything operates. You're not used to like kind of having to figure things out on the fly. And then I
Hmm.
also had that same experience of realizing that people treated you differently based on
Oh,
how you
yeah.
dressed in high school. Because, like, when I was in high school and when I tried to follow the trends and wear what the cool girls were wearing and doing all of that stuff, nobody really perceived me or nobody ever saw
Hmm.
me. Like, I didn't really have a point of view. I wasn't saying anything with my style necessarily, except for that I was
Right.
following. But then I actually started to go to thrift stores as well and started wearing with my own point of view and styling my clothes. And then all of a sudden, everybody knew who I was. And by the end of my senior year, I was like voted most unique, which was kind of like, I didn't even know that people knew who I was. It was kind of like, wow, this is crazy. So
Yeah.
clothing does have a tremendous impact. You're
Oh,
absolutely right.
yeah, that power. So you started thrifting when you were in high school, and that's where I really harnessed the power. Is I went to six different high schools, radically different schools, and it was a game I would play. In before high school, I dreaded the first day at a new school. But when I got to high school, I looked so forward to that first day. And then, like you're saying, what award did you say that people would say, like the one that stood out the most, or
The most unique.
the
Yeah.
most unique? I have quite the collection of yearbooks. If I was there at the right time of year for a yearbook, I probably have at least six yearbooks that say best dressed.
Mm.
And back then, some of the schools, I was the chubby kid. And finding clothes for that body type at that time was really hard. So now when people say it's hard to find plus size clothes, I laugh because try being a 12-year-old with $2 and you got a dress for a chubby kid.
Mm.
That's that's hard. And then often I was the only brown kid in a lot of those schools that my mom chose to put me in, which I don't know. Now it's kind of like life skills I developed. So not only did I have to fit in as a disadvantaged kid in a wealthy school, a chubby kid, a brown kid, I kind of turned that into what I do now. It's just, people come at me with a lot of different things, like when I had talked about comments sometimes that we get on social media. And man, I've heard this all my life. So now it's just social media. It brings it from all over the world, but the good by far outweighs any negative comments. And what I do, I get so much joy out of it. And so anyway, we'll talk about all that stuff later, but I just love hearing that we have so much in common that, that's what the world needs. If people spoke more, you'd find out you're a lot more alike than those people that you think you have nothing in common with.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I think it's
And
so
speaking
interesting.
of,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking so you were talking about your followers, and when we spoke for Forbes, you mentioned that I think you said the majority of your followers are size 2X or larger, or approximately there. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of feedback do you get from them? It seems like maybe you're sort of a haven for finding, you know, thrifted clothing or any clothing, really.
Yeah, I would say that predominantly more than half of my followers are my size, which is a 16, 18. It just depends on what kind of month I've had and
Okay.
how often I've gone out to eat and stuff. So I fluctuate a lot. Whatever. I embrace my curves now, and I don't talk a lot about my weight, but I do hear from the gals that when they're new, especially, they'll send a message, "Hey, I'm enjoying your lives. Here's my measurements. Here's my size. Can you help me?" But during the live sales, new people are always joining, but it is at least half, if not more, are my size, which is size 16. Some people get really mad when I say I'm plus size, and they're like, "You're a size 16, you're not plus size." If you Google it, it says that I'm plus size, but I say mid-size, plus size. It just depends on the day. And yeah, they do have a challenge thrifting larger size clothes, but I'm larger size and everything I wear is thrifted. So it can be found. You can do it. And if you can't do it, then I'm here for you. I can help you with that. And there's, a lot of the clothes aren't even made. The clothes that I like aren't even made for our sizes. So it's just a knack that I've developed for finding the clothes and being able to tell how, there's some clothing brands that are more bohemian or flowy or loose or billowy or whatever, and you can make that work. But there's a lot of structure to some clothes, and if the waist isn't going to fit you, it's just not going to fit you. So I've taken it upon myself on occasion to alter clothing to make it work for my body type, my size. But generally speaking, the women that are my size, they often message me, comment that they didn't know they could find their own unique style. They've always wanted to dress this way, colorful or, just outside their comfort zone. And now within this little audience, they encourage each other to find their own unique voice or style, it's a really interesting community that's developed. I don't know if you've seen on the live sales, but if you haven't, it's really interesting. Some of the clients recently, this is so interesting to me. They've bought things for other people that they know they like but are afraid to try. So they'll gift it to them. It's like paying it forward. And I just think that's just the
Wow.
neatest phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's just the neatest thing.
That is
Yeah,
super cool.
we talk about that in my community actually quite a bit because there are people of various different sizes. And I think you bring up like a really interesting part. And we had this in a conversation before we started recording, how, and it's not just our imagination, there is a limited availability of clothing in plus sizes. Like that is the fact. However, when you style, when you have like an imagination, when you have a vision, when you have a
Hmm.
voice, you can actually leverage those clothes that might be ugly or might be matronly or might be whatever negative word you might want to put in there, but you
Sure.
could actually work with them. Like, and this is something that I see a lot with my clients is that people say like, oh, like I'm a size like 5X, can you work with me? And I said like, as long as your clothes are comfortable and fitting on your body, we can absolutely work with that. And it's just a matter of styling them to make them look good. And I'd love to hear like a little bit of your process and how you do that or how you approach that.
So I think my largest client wears size 3X. And with her, we've just learned I've learned her measurements, and while I'm out and about, I know what her style is. And you can, there's little tips and tricks. Like sometimes if a skirt is too tight on the waist, well, we just pull it up and use this band above underneath your arms, which is smaller than her waist. And we turn skirts into dresses sometimes, or we don't zip things up all the way. And we just kind of make things work. We have to just have an open mind and be a little bit flexible. One thing, not to push people away from what I'm doing, but I have an interesting connection. So when I had my store in San Diego for 7 years, the store was well, it was exclusively locally handmade goods from San Diego and Tijuana, so the local area. So it was all art that was handmade. And some of the things that were handmade were jewelry items. And because there was jewelry, I just since day one had my resale clothing in that store. And in being in San Diego with that resale clothing store, I made a friend. And I don't know if you know her, but her name is Ashley Tipton. And she won Project Runway. So years ago.
Good.
And so I was friends with her during that time. And she won she was probably maybe 4X, 3X at the time when she won that. And her whole line of clothing, she continues to, I think she's still making clothing right now for women of her size. And we've had a lot of conversations about this. And she dressed outside the box and she would alter things herself. And she has always had an amazing, very unique sense of style as a plus size person. And I did because at my highest, I've been a size 18. That's like the highest I've been. So I would say I haven't had as many challenges as my gals that are 2X to 5X. I haven't. But I have learned a lot from Ashley about how you just really have to think outside the box with certain things. Like if there's a dress that you like that is billowy and flowy and fits you, well, why can't you put something on top of it and then wear it as a skirt as well? And I get a lot of looks from men when I'm shopping the men's section of the thrift store. And I've actually had to stop and have a conversation. One man one time said, "Your department's over there. Why are you taking stuff? We don't have enough stuff over here. Go take stuff from your department."
Yeah, it's
And
competitive.
it is so competitive. And I just thought, so I made him feel bad. And I said, they don't make clothes for people that are my size over there. So I have to pick clothes from over here. And it's true. There's a lot of times that jackets, I'm bigger chested as well. There's a lot of women's jackets don't fit me because of my pit to pit measurement. So I do have to wear men's jackets sometimes. And so anyway, I just thought that was an interesting comment to make, but don't overlook, I tell my gals that are my size or larger, don't overlook the men's section. There's great sweaters over there. The pants go up to like size 46. There's stuff up over there that, so if you think, don't just always think, oh, I have to stick to the women's section. Clothes don't have a gender. You can wear whatever you want. And like Janine was saying earlier, comfort is a big factor. Fibers, some people can't wear certain fibers. Some people, especially women that are like going through menopause or they're just heavier or they sweat a lot. They're like, I can't wear that. I feel like I'm wearing a wetsuit if I wear polyester, or I can't wear wool because it itches. So there's a lot that goes into picking items for people. I do really tend to get to know all these little quirky things like, oh, she doesn't like to wear yellow. She doesn't like to wear wool. But in general, I think it's just, to make this work, you do have to be open-minded a little bit and try new things sometimes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have
Yeah.
so many questions for, for
It's
you.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here, like, it sounds like, you're really good at thinking outside of the box and like helping your clients think outside of the box. one of the things that I have noticed, particularly within the plus size community, or just like it goes spans across the board. And I think a lot of this is rooted in patriarchy and things along these lines. Is like this like kind of pressure to look smaller.
Mm.
And I feel like that's kind of anti-ethical to like personal style because personal style is all about taking up space. And so, what are some of the things that you talk to about your clothing that you're selling and also that you're styling? Like, what do you say to that?
Well, here's the thing. If you scroll around my account, you'll get an idea pretty quickly that I dress to take up space. I dress in whatever I want. I mean, I'm not in a corporate environment right now, so I don't have to dress any particular way. I dress whatever my whimsy is for the day. But I've got gals that are in corporate environments and they dress in neutrals, or I have a few that dress only in black, and I help them just as well. But if you scroll around and if you're in your thoughts, you're like, that's wackadoodle, or she's dressing tacky, or that's just too much, we're probably not going to be able to work together
Mhm.
because what you were just saying about taking up space or not standing out, I'm all for the opposite. I've never had anyone come up to my face and say anything negative to me about what I'm wearing. I might get looks. More often, the thing that brings me the greatest joy, I dress for the female gaze, is what I like to say. But what I like to hear, and I don't think they're disingenuous when they're saying this, the 20 somethings. And I have a lot of 20 something clients. And I actually have quite a few clients that wear double zeros and zero and two and four. So I have a wide audience, and my youngest clients are about 18, and the higher end, I'm going to say maybe 68.
Mhm.
It's a very wide range. But when I get comments from 20-year-olds that are like, they'll lean in and they'll say, I am never coloring my hair and I want to be you when I grow up. All of that. And so it's a part of it is confidence, but a part of it is a statement that in a lot of those, well, in my family and in the schools I went to, some of them, I just didn't want to be noticed. I just wanted to be left alone. I didn't want to get bullied. Didn't want to get hated on. But, you know, words, what does it say? What is the saying? Sticks and stones? Words, they're just words. And even now, if I get an occasional comment from somebody, you're taking all the good stuff, I just let it roll because by far, the comments I get is, I wish I could dress like you. I wish I could pull that off. I love that. I want to be like that. And when I hear that, I just want to just run and give them a hug and say,
Mhm.
girl, wear what you want, what you love. Life is too short to just, oh, I love that color. I just don't think I can pull it off. So my advice to those people who say that to me in real life or online is if you are drawn to something and that's you feel like deep in your heart you just want to wear all the colors and be crazy and just you know uh, don't care what other people think or say, which that's how I dress, but it took a long time to get there. I say start small. Leopard is a great neutral, and if you just a little accessory, how about some shoes, how about a little purse? You can start with a scarf. There's just dip your toe in the water. And I can't tell you countless over the years. So I had that store for 7 years and I had resale clothing in there for 7 years. I had that. Then it transitioned, and it's a longer story and I won't give you all the details of that now, but I transitioned from a brick and mortar to just online. I used to style mannequins and style bundles. But the greatest joy I have right now is a little bit more interactive. And I converted during COVID to live sales because I couldn't have people in person come over. So live sales and this interaction. And when other women encourage other women, that's where the change happens. So, hey, Denise, you should try blue. Your eyes are blue. That would look so good on you. So they're hearing things from me, but they're hearing it from their peers. And there's just something magical about women supporting other women in even in their fashion journey. In all ways, yes, but in their fashion journey, I mean, because women, clothing makes us feel better. Clothing can change your mood. It can affect how you're perceived in the world. And yeah, to your statement, take up space. I believe that women, we're done. We're done being on the shelf. I'm done with that. I've been with my husband since we were 18, and I'm 61 now. And he has been so supportive. We have 3 daughters. They are hardcore feminists, and they have their own unique styles. Some of them radically different than how I dress, but they own it. And that's the thing, owning your style, just even if you dip your toe in the water, own the move. And confidence is the thing that makes it work. And that comes just from you. I mean, women can encourage you, but I don't know. That's just something. And the more you do it, it's like muscle memory. The more you do it, the more confident you get. And then I'm not the craziest dresser out there. There's women that dress more out there than me, and I admire those women. I love their styles. And that's the thing about style. It is so personal and so unique. And the older you get, I think you get more in touch with that and more confident with that. And the women, I have some women that are plus size, larger than my size even. And I just love, they embrace the whole leopard, the bright colors, and when you get us all together in a crowd going somewhere, some of them are my good friends that we go places. And I just love that we are an event. We are the event when we're together. So, yeah.
That's so awesome. It seems like your business is very, very personal. Like it sounds like you know a lot of your clients
Mhm.
really well, and that they even know each other,
Mhm.
giving recommendations to each other. Do you think that is one of the keys to your success in the business online?
100%. 100%. Because I was just telling the statistic to someone a couple days ago. When COVID happened and I couldn't have people over, I just had this idea that what if I filmed myself talking about the clothes instead of having one person over here? Maybe I could have a wider audience to see the clothes and maybe I'd sell more. I don't know. So I had this little teeny tiny wooden rack and I put 10 things on it and I did my first sale and I sold, I don't know, like 3 items out of the 10. I was ecstatic because what else was I going to do during COVID? And so then I started doing that more regularly and it grew. And so now the rack that I use is one of those big industrial ones, and I have anywhere between, on average, about 50 items on the rack, and I usually sell about half of them. And so the sales started at like a 15-minute sale. Now my sales on average are 2 hours long. I have women that never miss a sale. And this is like one of my sales is at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Thursdays. So I've got East Coast gals drinking coffee so they can stay up till I finish the sale. This is crazy to me. And I've got gals, I just last sale, I have a gal, well, there's so many. I've got them watching from weddings, from funerals. One arrived in Italy at 4 a.m. to tune in to one of my sales. One just very recently told us all this during the live sale, that she was at the front row of a Botticelli concert with her husband, front row with very special tickets, and she had her phone watching the live sale while I'm live. So it's a community and they don't miss it for anything and they're buying. So I think that secret is that I have an ability. I don't have a good memory for a lot of things, but for clothing and for clients, their real name, not just their username, their preferences, what they like, what they don't like, because I have that and I say those things out loud, like someone's real name. So then the other girls watching, they get to know that person's real name. They get to comment. So when a new person logs on to one of my live sales, it's not just me, here's this, here's this, here's this, and just repeating outfits and statistics. There's banter going on. There's suggestions from the other gals. So I'd say that's the secret sauce because I watch a lot of live sales and I know it works for a lot of people to just do it the way they do it. But I think because I've always been this way, where even when I had the retail store as an example, you came in the store and because it was all locally handmade and I knew each of my 125 local artists, I knew their stories, I know how they made the item. So that whatever that glitch is that I have, that I absorb the information, but then I also can tell you about these things. That plays into what I do now. So I think people like that they can, and if you come to one of my sales, the number one thing that people say, Sophia, will that fit me? Will that fit me? Do you think that color will be good on me? So yeah, I don't know what that is other than I'm obsessive compulsive about some things and and so I often people say, will that fit me? And you know what I say? No, that won't fit you. I know because I know them so well.
I've actually seen you do that.
Have
Mm.
you?
I've witnessed you do that actually. And I'm like, wow, that's like really honest. And that has to like just build so much trust in your clients.
I think so. It's just I want the items that I rescued to end up with the perfect home because I don't want them to get discarded yet again. So the
Mhm.
point is to
Hmm.
have the clothes end up with who is supposed to have them.
Mhm.
And I know some people, I remember, let's say they don't like teal and or they don't like things to be green. They like blue, but they don't like green. So when I'm showing them something, when you're on the internet, sometimes colors don't show right or accurately, but I know she's not going to like that. It's going to be more green than the blue she likes. So
Oh,
there
wow.
is a limit to how much my brain can hold. So
Mhm.
right now, it's all still working. The audience that I have, we got this going, but I am going to try something new, kind of like what we're doing right now with the Zoom call, where right now, it's with my live sales on Instagram, it's one-sided. They hear my voice, but I can't hear them. I can only read their comments. But I want to try to do a live sale on a Zoom call. So
Mm.
it might get
Ooh.
crazy. It might get crazy, but I think I might like the interaction. So I might have to keep it small. But anyway,
It could be
always
cool.
changing.
It could
Yeah,
be cool.
always.
Maybe I could have you in my community and we can invite you to do a an event.
I would
So
love that.
so
That's a
I'm
great
always up
idea.
for new things. I
yeah.
think that's the fun in life is to try new things, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you brought up some really interesting points in what you were just talking about, and one of it is fit. And can you give any pointers to like okay, I used to do reselling and I tried to shop for other people and that's just not where the direction I'm going in as a stylist because I teach people how to dress themselves or how to know what they like themselves. So I don't shop for other people anymore. But I would be really curious as to what your process is in determining like if something is going to fit for somebody and knowing.
Well, yeah. So I used to do style bundles. I used to do stylings for people. I've moved on and almost exclusively do these live sales now. But the
Mm,
number one thing they need to do is they need to know their measurements.
mhm,
And once I've got your measurements, it's like the golden ticket. I can dress you. And it's really about 4 or 5 measurements that they need. And some of them, if they ask me enough time, will this fit me? I just mail them a tape measure And
Mm,
I have done little live calls, FaceTime calls with people. Here's how you do your measurements. And if you give me these 4 or 5 numbers, we'll never have an issue because I don't do returns. So we want to get this right.
mhm,
And yeah, once you have your bust, your waist, your hip, your rise, and your inseam,
mhm.
it makes things so much easier.
What about your arm?
I do upper arm.
Upper
It's your
arm,
bicep.
your bicep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's the upper arm, like where your bicep is. Like mine is 8 inches side to side, which is about a size 16. But
Hmm.
I've got some girls that are bodybuilders and they've got
Hmm.
big shoulders or big arms, and theirs might be a 9 or a 10 because they just got more muscles than I do. So,
Hmm.
there's a big area there that once you do, it's very simple to get your measurements, very simple. And then what plays into that though, which is the wild card, is stretch. A lot of
Hmm.
fibers have stretch, and sometimes, certain things, if they're, this, when they're made on the bias, well, that's magical.
Hmm.
A bias cut item just conforms to your curves in the best way. So there's a lot I've learned just because I used to have a line of children's clothing that I sewed. And so I come from a little bit of that background. I have a design background. I worked for Coca-Cola in the marketing department for a long time. So I
Hmm.
have a unique skill set, I think. So anyway, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah.
That's so cool. And I
working.
also want to ask you too, this is a question that I get a lot is because I tend to wear a lot of oversized clothing, or clothing that my whole thing is about comfort. And so I tend to wear clothes that are slightly too big for me. That's just like what I like that. And then other people say like, "Oh, you can do that because you're thin." But I want to push back on that because I see people online, I see people in various places, and there's Pinterest boards of pictures upon pictures of pictures of plus size women who are wearing oversized clothing. But it seems like a lot of the clothing that's on the market is geared toward being more fitted in the plus size areas. So I'm wondering if somebody has that interest and wants to achieve that look and they live in a larger body, like what would you recommend to them?
So you're asking about fitted clothes versus looser clothes? Like,
Yeah, like more oversized fits for plus size.
well, that's a style dilemma. And
Yeah.
comfort is, of course, the most important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know. That one's just so personal. Like for me, I'm all over the place. Sometimes I wear baggy, loose, and sometimes they say, "Oh, if you're going to wear loose pants, wear a fitted jacket." Well, I sometimes wear loose pants and a loose jacket and kind of dress like Billie Eilish, just
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you know, so it just really depends. I dress for my mood too. It
Yeah.
depends on I really I feel like some days I want to be a baddie and I just dress more loose, casual, band tees, my Doc Martens, and I have that look. But then like what I'm wearing right now, it's just this cute little pink dress that looks like a little cupcake dress and it looks sweet. So I have different moods for different. So I feel like women I do have a few that they only wear loose and they dress for comfort. And it's also because of what are you doing for your work? Some of them they're in a corporate. I have a gal that's a 2X and she works in a corporate environment and everything she wears is fitted, like pencil skirts and
Mhm.
a stretchy top with a fitted jacket. So she dresses very corporate, but in her off time, she wears whatever. So that's a hard question to answer because I feel like that's so personal.
Mhm.
And I mean, if someone were
Yeah.
to ask me, hey, I wear loose things all the time and I want to convert to more fitted, well, there we are again with the same dilemma. You have to know your measurements. to
Yeah.
get that fit that you want.
I
Yeah.
get what you're saying though, Janine, because I think like growing up, I was always told like, well, don't wear baggy clothes, it'll make you look bigger. So
Hmm.
there's this kind of like societal input that you're supposed to wear fitted clothes to look smaller. And so I think sometimes people who are larger or who, like me, have gone through menopause and got larger, you feel like you don't want to look bigger because and so you don't want to wear bigger clothes. But I think that is I do think that that's a myth because sometimes when you're more comfortable, you can move around more freely. You're gonna look you're just gonna look better. Like you're gonna look, I think, more at ease. You're gonna feel more at ease. And I
Hmm.
think the way that you feel in your clothing has a lot to do with how you're perceived in your clothing. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
angles to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I get the sense from what I hear a lot from, my clients and from the people online who leave comments is that they feel like if they live in a larger body, the oversized trend, that comfort and the comfort that comes with it is sort of off limits to people in larger bodies because of certain social biases, like they don't want to look sloppy, quote unquote
Mhm.
sloppy, or they don't want to look bigger, and things along those lines. And I think that, and I see that and I see it's very real. Like the biases are very real, and there's not so much we can do about it except for challenge it. And one of the things that I really advocate for is learning about styling principles. And so, in learning how to use things like or leverage things like the rule of thirds, about intentionality, about, if you wanted to wear like a oversized top with like right now I'm wearing an oversized top with an oversized pair of pants, but I'm observing the rule of thirds by having my sleeves pushed up, right? So it creates that line. So there's like lots of different things that I look towards, but in terms of them like finding those clothes is something that they also say is a big challenge of finding clothes that do fit more comfortably with yeah, it's really fascinating. And sometimes like I feel as like one person, I feel like my personal experience is like somewhat limited. I have been different sizes throughout my life, but like not in when I was another size, like I didn't think about clothing as much as I'm thinking about it now, like as a personal stylist. So that's why I wanted to like pose that question to you because of your styling skills. So
I
I
think it's
hear you.
also really funny that this is the second podcast that Billie Eilish has come up in.
yeah,
Oh.
she's like, yeah, she comes up a lot.
Well,
And
I
the other
just,
one was Heidi, who you are friends with.
oh my goodness, yes, we're part of the girl gang.
I
Yeah,
love that.
it's so cute because I reached out to her one day and I said, "Hey, I had a friend say that you live near me and that we should be friends." And she's responded with, "Girl, I have been messaging you for 6 months and you've ignored me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I've never heard from you." And she insists to this day that she wanted to meet me because she heard that we should be friends. And so anyway, that same day that she said that, I said, "What are you doing? Let's go have lunch." And we did that same day. We just went and did
Amazing.
it and we hit it off. We had so much in common and so much not in common, which is also a great thing to be
Mm.
able to learn from someone else, just their history and their anyway, we are a good collaborative force, I think. We have friends that we meet with regularly who are almost half our age, and we just have so much fun together. I just think that age doesn't matter, size doesn't matter. It's just if you mesh, you mesh, you know?
Totally. I love that. I love that. And if you love Billie Eilish's style, then you're going to connect.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
I would say so.
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
that. So cool. And I love and for those of us who can't see or who are listening, I love your mannequin behind you and
Oh,
what she's wearing behind you. She's wearing the mannequin is wearing a floral dress. It looks like it's made of chiffon, pink and black, with a bright orange shirt with like cargo pockets on him.
mm-hmm.
So it's really cool.
Super
I love
fun.
that shirt. It's so
Glad
cool.
you like it. That's my
So-
favorite thing. I like to either mix vintage finds with modern, or I like the juxtaposition of soft with hard. I just like, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't even know what my style aesthetic is. It's just eclectic and whatever I feel like wearing. What used to happen in my youth, I figured this out. Let's say I would be in a thrift store and I needed to have something new to wear because I changed size or my mom threw my stuff away or whatever, just random things. So anyway, let's say I'd have one thing and it would be a purple skirt, let's say, and I had nothing else to go with it. So I, very young, would have things from my dad and he would say, well, you can have any of this stuff I'm not wearing. And so I would upcycle before there was even a word upcycle. I made stuff. And so it all started with I didn't have toys per se. My dad bought me a doll one time and it didn't have clothes because usually in thrift stores, the clothes don't have clothes. They're just a doll.
All
So
the
he would
stuff.
give me
Yeah.
dolls. He would give me dolls and they didn't have clothes. So I would get socks or neckties was the number one, neckties and socks. And I would have to figure out clothes for my dolls with these clothes. So I learned to sew early on. So I styled my clothing early on. And that ended up turning into a collection of dolls, and I just made clothes for them out of whatever thrifted stuff. So I think it's just something that makes me happy now when I think about it. They say whatever you did as a child that made you the happiest, that is what you should do later in life. That's what you should do in life. That whatever that made you happy back then is what you should do in life. Well, how interesting. I am so fortunate, and it's not missed on me that I am doing that same thing. I'm dressing my little dollies just like I did as a child. And I'm doing it with thrifted clothes just like I did as a child. And who knew that I would make a significant amount of contribution to the finances of my family and support doing what I did as a child? How in the world did that even happen? You know, a lot of people do, let's say if you're an artist or you're an architect or whatever you do, a lot of people do that. But I never would have imagined that I would be doing these live sales, selling women with used clothes. And so I'm happy thrifting, I'm happy styling, but how fortunate to have connected with an audience that appreciates what I'm doing and they like it. And they like it. That's just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best gift ever,
Love
ever.
that. Love that. So, so
That is
before
really
we
cool.
so before we wrap up, I know we're coming up towards the end here. A couple of things. First, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out with their personal style on their journey?
Well, okay. For myself, I just think of a client, a particular client, let's just say. So she's starting out and let's say she's, okay, I'm done with that career. I'm going to start a new thing and job wise, just my normal everyday life, I want to change things up. I would say pick one thing that's a little outside your comfort zone. Just one thing and just try it. And I have not, this is shocking to me, I have not yet seen someone who tries that it doesn't work for them. I
Mm,
don't know why that has happened. There must be somebody that it doesn't work for. But in my experience, I have not seen it yet. Try one thing that's outside your comfort zone. Try the one thing and see what happens.
I
That's my
love that.
advice. Just give it a risk.
I
Just give
love
it a risk.
that. I think that's awesome. It's like exposure therapy and right there. So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And then also, before we go, where can our listeners find you?
Exclusively, I sell on Instagram, and my username is Make Good. So it's just one word, Make Good. I should have probably named something about clothing or style, but at the time, Make Good, like in advertising, which is the background that I had, a make good is something that if there was a mistake, you fix it and you make it better. So that actually is apropos
Mm,
because I'm taking used clothes, giving them a second life. And when you wear clothes that make you feel good and they don't further harm the environment, that's a good thing. It's double goodness. So it's a make good. So in reality, I guess it is a good name. Make good. It's making things better.
nice. I love it. I love it.
Love
Well, thank you
that.
so much for coming.
Sophia, thank you so much.
Oh my
This was
goodness, you
so
guys
amazing.
are great.
Ah, so cool. Well, thank you. I'm so glad you've come and we have to stay in touch. So, thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm not joking.
Yeah,
I'm
you guys
serious. If
are
you
have a lot in common.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm so glad to have met you in person and to see you and chat with you. Um, we'll see what happens next. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys letting me share a little bit of my story, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
thank you. Thank you.